The other day, my KvK was announced, and I'm sure you're thinking, I don't care about 11 random A and B seed kingdoms. That sounds absolutely boring. Well, you might be right, but you also are very wrong, because guess what? We're in the storm of the Stratagems KvK. This is a KvK that no one has done yet. It is brand new. Lilith added it in one of their most recent patches, and it looks very interesting. The game mode looks unique. They've got like weird armament stuff. It looks very free-to-play friendly. So who knows how this KvK is gonna go out? I barely know anything about it. No one really knows much. There's some very basic fundamental knowledge that Lilith gave us in one of their sneak peeks, but that's it. So if you're interested in this KvK, which kingdoms are gonna be fighting which kingdoms, my predictions for the KvK, my personal goals, marches I'll be running, and what I hope to get from the KvK and what I hope it brings, you definitely want to check out the rest of the video. Let's start off by discussing the kingdoms in our KvK, because I think that's going to be the most important thing, and we'll start off with the current top winning kingdoms, which are the Nature Camp. The first place goes to Nature Camp currently with 150 million points. Coming in second is 113, so they are by far and away in the lead, 28-23, and also their other kingdom, 28-36. 28-36 is definitely not at the level of 28-23, but in terms of power, 28-23 really isn't that crazy. Like, if we look at their kingdom, they are very small and they are doing crazy good. So I feel threatened already. They've got such little amounts of power. I think they got 110 billion power alliance. That's it. That's their whole kingdom. It's this one alliance here. Everything else is like a 1 billion alliance. Like maybe this is like a 2 billion, maybe. So straight off the bat, very, very small. It's like a 3 billion. Very, very small kingdom. So they definitely are crazy active. For a small kingdom, they are extremely active. 1.5 billion, 1.3 billion. This alliance is definitely, it's not even connected to the temple. So this alliance, just straight up, they are the most active kingdom in the KvK by like a mile, and that is very, very interesting. Like, I wouldn't have expected a kingdom like this when I first looked at it to be the most active, and good on them. They are the most active kingdom. Their allies, 24-36 or 28-36, so definitely are not very active. They are the second lowest currently in our KvK in terms of points. So if you look at their kingdom, it looks like they've been hit by a civil war. They definitely do not seem like much of a threat. So that's something I can say. Their main alliance is like 7 billion total power. That's it. So very, very quiet kingdom. They've got one other alliance in the Zone 3, and it's got one member. It's this alliance right here. It's been completely burnt. They've got one piece of territory, or like a few pieces. They got 1 out of 124 members and 470,000 power. So very, very small kingdom. There's almost no one in Kingsland. They've got one main alliance, and they are the second worst on the current honor. So funny enough, it's going to be the most active kingdom with one of the least active kingdoms, which I think is actually just very ironic. Then also we have I think it's Water Camp. Water Camp has a 10 billion power alliance in each kingdom, so 28-54 and 28-32 both have 10 billion power alliances. I think 28-54 has like a 5 billion one as well. Very quiet, like small kingdoms. There's nothing too big there. Like, they've got 5 billions and 10 billions, decent power, but nothing too crazy. And then 1802 is literally alone. They were classified as an S-class kingdom, but if I show you their kingdom, they're definitely not S-class. They've got like 10 billion power main alliance and an 8 billion power secondary alliance. They should be maybe an A-class, but definitely not the S-class. They are, yes, a very, very powerful kingdom compared to the other kingdoms I'll show you, but they are nowhere near like Imperium level. Imperium is S-class. They couldn't take any allies to my knowledge, so they have one 8.6 billion power alliance, and their main is like a 10.5 billion. So very, very crazy how they were not allowed to take any allies at all. This kind of is a testament to how poor Lilith matchmaking really is. Like, this kingdom got no allies, but my kingdom with a 10 billion power main alliance and 2 7 billion power secondary alliances, almost 8 billion power each, somehow was allowed to take allies. Makes sense? I don't know. So they got kind of screwed over in that regard, but they are definitely probably on par with the power of 2 kingdoms. But if we go by that logic, my kingdom has the power of 3 kingdoms. So not sure how that happened, how they weren't allowed to get an ally. Maybe their top 300 is like ridiculously powerful, and they just don't have many players below that. That's certainly a possibility, but they're not even in Imperium anymore. So not sure how that happened, but they are on their own with no other allies. Then in Fire Camp, 1256 and 2814, they've just both got a 10 billion power alliance and a 5 billion power alliance. I think actually no, 2814 is just a 10 billion, and then 1256 is a 5 billion. 2832 is the other water ally. They've got one 10 billion power alliance. Us in 2365, I just showed you, we got a 10 billion, 2 7 billions, and then 2774 and 1840, they've both got 10 billion power alliances, nothing more. Like, they're very, very small kingdoms. And then our final ally, 2418, has an 8.8 billion power alliance, nothing extra. So as you can see so far, it doesn't seem like we're going to get an absolutely massive, like, Imperium KvK, where it's the point of, like, if you go on the open field at the wrong time, or you bring the wrong marchers, or you do the wrong thing, you instantly lose. It's going to be a little bit more lenient. It's going to be a fairly equal KvK. Our kingdom, I'm going to say we have the most power, like, by far, but we don't have the strongest commanders. My kingdom is not a kingdom where we are running full meta garrisons, full meta rallies. Everyone's got absolutely talented equipment with full expertise, current meta commanders. We are just like on par with, like, in terms of commanders, a B or C seed kingdom. We are on par with them. No one here is rocking crazy commanders. Obviously, our top bigger players have max commanders on everything, but some players in here are still running Richards. They're still running some of the older combos like Nebras and YSGs, and that's perfectly fine. Our kingdom is just not that competitive. We're not up there with those Imperium kingdoms, and I think it's nice for a different change to have a smaller KvK. I've been in a bunch of big KvKs over the past few years, and I think it'll be nice to experience a smaller KvK again. Few people, there'll be like, yeah, there'll be big field fights, but they're going to be field fights with free-to-players, low spenders. Yes, there's going to be whalers, but they're not going to be as numerous as like our last KvK. Definitely nowhere near the power of 1093, so definitely going to be much more interesting in this KvK where there's going to be a bunch of lower power kingdoms, much more relaxed players, no stupid competitiveness and complete drama, just an interesting and relaxed KvK. As for the allies in this KvK, I have been confirmed from the king himself that our allies will be Earth Camp and also Daybreak Camp. So Earth is going to be 1802 and Daybreak is 1840 and 2774. So that means we're going to be doing a 5v6 KvK. It's going to be us plus Earth and also Daybreak versus the Water, the Fire, and the Greenwood Camp. So that's going to be very interesting to fight those. It's a 6v5 KvK. I think that is fair. We have more power, so it is fair to take away one kingdom from us. Between the Earth Camp and between us and Wind Camp, we do have more power, so that makes more sense. We have way more power than them, actually, like a lot more. That makes sense to give us one less kingdom. We have a lot more power. Us and Wind, we have about like 10 billion power more than you normally would, and then also Earth Camp is equal to 2 kingdoms, so I think that's fair to take away one kingdom from us. We'll definitely be fine without it. It's not going to be like completely game-breaking, shattering, unfair. I think that is a fair move, and it's not going to be too unfair. In terms of how this KvK is going to go, well, the 2 kingdoms on the right corner, which coincidentally are my camp and also Water Camp, we're going to get no fighting for a while. We can't fight each other. We can do altar battles, it seems right here where my cursor is. This is an altar, this one little like circle here. But we can't actually fight each other, and we're not going to go fight Earth Camp since they're our allies, and Water's not going to fight Nature or Greenwood or whatever it's called because they're their allies. So we're not going to get any fighting till the Zone 7 or 6 area, depending on how these passes open. And then also, that means Nature Camp, and then Daybreak Camp, and Fire Camp, and Earth Camp will be fighting it out and just going crazy. And this is where the bulk of the KvK battles will ensue. Depending on how the passes open, we could just be straight up seeing a win or end KvK at the beginning in Pass 4. If you see where my cursor is right now, hopefully the map is zoomed in. These outside areas, even right here where my cursor is, are like on this Zone 4. This should be a Zone 4. If all these open at once, then we can expect to actually see either Fire Camp or Daybreak Camp get locked in. So if the 2 zones around them open at one time, you could expect them to lock each other in. Whether it be the Nature Camp lock Daybreak on this side and Fire lock them on this side, or Daybreak Camp locks Fire and then Nature Camp locks Fire, you could see a Zone 4 lock within like the first 2 weeks, and that could determine the whole KvK. That would take it from a 6v5 KvK to a 5v4 KvK, and we will definitely have a large upper hand in that case. So very interesting to see where this could go, who's going to get locked if this does open as a Zone 4. The other option is that this is a Zone 5, and this just straight up is a Zone 5, and only a Zone 5. And that means you can really only access it if you're the kingdom connected to it. But then again, I feel like Nature would have access to this Zone 5 and Fire would have access to this Zone 5. So they could still get zone blocked depending on who takes this. It would just take longer to get zone blocked, and they could be broken out by their allies who could enter the actual zone through other zones. But to be fair, it means they would get zone locked for at least the first 2 or 3 weeks before allies could try and push them out, and by then Wind Camp or Water Camp could come in and try and rescue their other allies, or we could back up people in defending. So if a camp gets zone 4 locked, which is certainly very possible, we could be seeing zone 4 locks within the first 3 weeks depending on which passes open when. That would pretty much determine the KvK. Also, Water Camp and also Wind Camp can't be zone locked. So I can't be zone locked, nor can Water Camp. We are well isolated. We will only get zone locked possibly if one pushes the other one out of this Zone 5. But then again, they could just go into their ally Zone 5 or just build on a pass and then go into the ally zone. Or the allies could come push us out. So this definitely is not a be-all or end-all zone. But if Fire or Daybreak get locked, that's pretty much it. They're just done for. Now, in terms of what the KvK is going to bring, we know they're going to have some type of an armament-like system and boosts you can give to a commander called like scrolls or like books that you can get buffs from. And the further in the KvK you get, the more of these buffs you get. So it kind of just looks like an armament system when I looked at it. An armaments with free-to-play aspect because there is no real pay-to-win to this, just free-to-play stuff. So I don't think it's going to be too crazy. You're going to be a lot more Bastion quest focus. I know there's going to be a ton of stuff on Bastion quests. But other than that, the KvK format itself just looks like a normal heroic anthem. Different map, and literally, in my opinion, a worse map, but you are going to have an interesting KvK. No one's ever seen this. Maybe these stuff is like completely crazy. You can also pretty much send counter rallies instantly now, so that is something else to note. The second a counter rally fills, they're going to instantly go. So I will be expecting to see a lot more counter rallies from both our kingdom side and the enemy side, and I may even be doing some counter rallies because my equipment and my commanders are really getting up there in terms of the rally. Like my Henry is almost done. Like he's really, really close to done. He's got 1 skill left. I've got 14 out of 80 gold heads, and I could expect him to be done by this KvK. So you could be seeing me as a counter rally leader. In terms of what else I'm going to be doing this KvK, well, obviously I'm going to be open fielding. My current marchers will probably be a Henry with a ZHUGE, Boudica with a Cyrus, and a Nebu with a YSG. The second I run low on speed ups, goodbye Nebu YSG, and then I'll just be running a Boudica YSG, Henry with ZHUGE, and that means my Cyrus and Nebu will be on the bench. So we'll see how that goes depending on how quick I run out of speed ups and all that. It could take a while depending on how difficult the KvKs are, depending on how difficult our enemies are, and also depending on how many troops die. Like if I get all my troops killed and I need to train some, then I'm going to be kind of screwed. But if we're equal power to our enemies in terms of we're not completely dominating the field, they're not completely dominating the field or the garrison, then I would expect this fighting to go on for a while, and that means I'd be able to fight for quite a while, and that means I'm going to set a high expectation for kill points. 1.2 billion. That's my goal. 300 million kill points in this KvK. I probably have around 2 billion total possible resources I could have right now. So very interesting how this KvK could be going. It could go really good for me. It could go really bad if we get zone locked really quick or we zone lock the enemies real quick. So not too sure what's going to happen in that regard. We will have to see when the KvK begins. So depending on how it goes, I could easily get that 300 million and have more to spare depending on how powerful our enemies are. Or I could get absolutely destroyed, run out of resources really quickly, and we lose the KvK. So it does depend. If we're winning or we're on equal like fighting grounds with our enemies, then we could expect me to easily get the 300 million kill points. If not, then I definitely won't be getting nearly as many. Also, in terms of deads, I'll be easily going for that 2 million. It's always easy to get deads in KvK. I swarm flags if I have to, and I can just fill rallies and hit cities and fill city rallies. So easily, I reckon I could get 2 million deads. Current troops, I have around 2.3 million. I'm probably going to train a bunch more. I'll try to get 2 million deads. I don't know. I mean, like, it's possible. I'll definitely have more troops by the time KvK starts. So it will be quite interesting to see how many deads I can manage to get. There is a bunch of troops in my hospital right now from also doing kill events. So I do have around 2.4 million units. We will see how many deads I can get. I'm going to try to shoot for the 2 million, 1.5 million. Pretty much kill all my calves and all my infantry at least. So what do I hope for the KvK? Well, I hope it's a fair, fun fight. I don't want another 1093 situation where one kingdom completely dominates and just shuts the other kingdoms in. Yes, some people are all about winning a KvK. I'm all about streaming the KvK and actually fighting in it. So hopefully we get some actual fighting. Maybe we don't get zone locked within like the first day. Maybe we don't zone lock the people within the first day. That is my hope. I hope that people put up a fight and we get a nice equal KvK where no one really knows who's going to win. Because I don't want to fight where it gets to like zone 6 and you're like, yeah, we kind of know what's going to happen. And then the whole enemy team or our whole allies are just completely demotivated. I want it to come down to a nail-biting fight in Kingsland. I think that'd be the absolute perfect KvK where it's like, damn, we better have good stratagems for this or whatever, because otherwise we're going to lose. Who's our counter rally leader? That's going to be really interesting stuff that I do want to see. Alliance Arrow Towers, I think, are in this as well. So this could be a very interesting KvK, or it could be a very boring KvK. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm really hoping for the interesting one. But the KvK map has not even fully opened yet, so we do not truly know how anything is going to go. Now also, since it is KvK, I've got the Eve of the Cruesade event currently ongoing. That means I'm going to be doing Marauders live on stream, guys. I'll be doing like a 2-hour live stream. I'm just going to sit there and fight Marauders for 2 hours until reset hits. So if you want to come by, ask me questions. It's going to be a very chill stream, just me fighting Marauders, just like a casual Rise of Kingdoms player that I truly am. Then consider coming by. Link will be in the description and in the pinned comment. It'll be at 22 UTC. So consider dropping by. It's chill. Ask me questions about your account and about the game. Anything you want to ask me, even real life questions, I'm down to answer them while I'm live. Now I just want to say thank you for watching. See you next one.